the typical mentality of a business, a small business house is, I'll set up a company, I will manage it from here. So that doesn't work in today's scenario. People should not blindly, take an advice of a chartered accountant or a tax advisor or I would say the legal advisor who does not have a flavor of the international taxation. When India started opening their economy, okay, about in 90s, okay, when the LPG was launched, liberalization, privatization, and globalization was launched by Manmohan Singh. So, they were very clear that no international company will come on its own. They have to have a tie-up with an Indian company. See, I think there is a lot of scope. Okay, as I said, when the country is where we are based is doing good, then obviously there are chances that the companies, based in India will grow. So now, unless we as an advisors or the consultants or the implementators, we don't know the scenarios of the other countries.
Welcome to Ec Talks, a series led by Qualify and Equus, wherein we invite industry leaders and thought leaders to talk about different opportunities and the relevant information about how companies can grow internationally, seamlessly, effortlessly. Today's talk is a very interesting talk about companies from India trying to invest abroad. What are the do's and don'ts they should keep in mind while preparing their entry strategies? What relevant factors they should assess before planning international expansions. And for that, we have a very special guest. With me, I have today a very smart and very intelligent gentleman who has helped several companies set up overseas, help mobilize international commerce, and help pave the path of global success for many companies. So please welcome Mr. Shardindu Vajpayee, Managing Director and CEO Fund and Fund Services for Amicom Financial Services. Shardindu, welcome to this Ec Talks.
Thank you, Supriya.
I would like, you are no stranger to international commerce. You are no stranger to companies that are wanting to spread their wings and expand internationally. We're not talking about just Indian companies, but rather companies that are trying to work in global and international commerce. So, what is your advice? What does a company need to keep in mind? What do the companies need to assess and keep in mind before planning an international expansion? What are the key factors?
So first I would start like when company thinks about this. Okay. So there are two scenarios. In my view, there are two scenarios. And whatever experience I have in the international waters, when country per se like India is doing very good. So when India is doing very good, then you are doing very good. Okay. If you are supporting and if you are, dependent on the economy, okay, and all the factors are favoring you, then obviously you would like to expand in the other markets, right? So this is one factor when the country where you are domiciled is doing very good. Now, second scenario is when your product is very good, but the country is not supporting you. Okay. So now you would like to expand in the other markets where the other geographies, entertain you and you can do wonders over there. So these are the two prime factors, okay, when you think of spreading your wings in the different markets, business wings, I would say. So this is thing. Now, this is the scenario when you think. Now, what are the factors you should consider or the company should consider before entering into the international waters are the compliances. One is your local compliance because you are going from India, and the local compliance of that country where you will be establishing your business, right? So these are the two basic factors or the basic compliance factors. So compliance could be your taxation, compliance could be your local regulatory issues, compliance could be your licensing bodies, like in which sector you would like to expand, whether it's a regulated business or a registered business. Like if a bank intends to expand outside, then it becomes very regulated. Financial services becomes regulated. When it is like only a license, not license, only a registered thing, like you would like to set up a trading company, so Singapore, Dubai, XYZ, or you would like to expand internationally into manufacturing, then it all depends like where would you like to manufacture, which country is giving you benefits in terms of setting up the plant, okay, and then which is the easiest and the closest market okay, where you would like to expand. Okay, so these are, I think, the basic checks a company would like to do before taking a decision to stepping out from the country where they are stationed.
So while the basic checks, I understand the basic checks would be compliances, regulatory practices, policies, manpower availability, location availability, and license and permits. In a nutshell, I think these are the broad categories that one would think of. But are there any other primary factors that many a times we forget to analyze, and the companies always need to keep in the back of the head? Most companies forget to analyze these factors.
So see, basic factor is, like as I said, the tax compliance is like today in India. If you expand your business in XYZ country, what the typical mentality of a business, a small business house is, I'll set up a company, I will manage it from here. So that doesn't work in today's scenario. Okay, there is a tax animal called POEM, place of effective management. If the effective management is based out of India and you are giving all the decisions, being a promoter of the company sitting in India and running your show in Singapore or anywhere in the world, that will not fly. So income tax says that place of effective management is India, so you have to pay taxes, so you can't play around with that. So you have to put substance. Now what is substance? You have to have an office, you have to have people over there working for you. You should have regular tax this thing, what do you call it, all the compliances which the local taxes are allowed to adhere. And the other stuff, like if you have to hire, there are few countries in the world where you have to hire locals, so whether you are complying to those regulatory issues or not, so all that stuff. So that is one. Now the second is, there is one more tax animal called BEPS, base erosion profit shifting. Okay, now what you think is, like today I am doing business sitting in India, I am importing stuff. Okay, in importing I'm making a margin of 10%. So from Australia I'm importing fruits which is giving me 10% margin. Now here the tax rates are like 30+% on the corporate or the SME, whatever. Okay, now someone, any advisor or some advisor comes to the client and says, boss, why don't you put your company in between, one more company in between, that is Singapore, okay, where the taxes are 17% or 15% or XYZ. Okay, so then you will save taxes, so it becomes 50%. You park your margins over there only and rest you get it here. So here you were making 10% till today. Tomorrow you have set up your Singaporean company where you started parking 9% over there, and you are getting only 1% in India and paying taxes only on 1%. So then income tax authorities will come back to you and say, well, this is base erosion. Everything you are doing sitting over here, there is no value addition, there is no expansion of your business, there is no expansion of your turnover, though you have incorporated an entity in Singapore. So that will not fly. So these are the basic checks, balances, and the intent. What is the intent? Intent is the intent to evade the tax or erode the tax, or is the intent to grow? If the intent is fair and a company is thinking to grow, then these checks are necessary.
Very, very well said. In fact, one of the most important evolutions in the Indian excise.
So they were already there in the global, arena, but now India is part of the OECD. So OECD is pushing India, or they were pushing India to have the global taxation things in Indian taxation base as well. So India is complying to that.
So in your experience, have there ever been any major regulatory challenges that companies have faced when they have tried to expand?
Many.
What have been the most common?
I'll tell you, like India says, a company having a net worth can only incorporate an entity outside India. I have seen the cases where chartered accountant has recommended clients to us without even referring their balance sheets, and they have incorporated an entity outside India where the net worth is negative, where you are not compliant. Okay. RBI is saying, regulator is saying that it has to be positive, and now your balance sheet has a negative growth. How can you do that? How a negative net worth? How can you expand yourself in the international market? So people should not blindly take an advice of a chartered accountant or a tax advisor or I would say the legal advisor who does not have a flavor of the international taxation. One should take the reference from the people who understand that, so that they get a proper advice handholding. So tomorrow there are no regulatory issues. See, promoter thinks, the company is thinking that we will do good, but you are not compliant at your base, then the whole exercise becomes futile.
How important does the distribution market or the final market play a role in your decision of foreign destination? I'll explain why that question comes. I mean, an obvious question would be, oh, wherever there is a market, we should expand. No, but I take India for an example. Many of the European companies that I've worked with have considered India as a manufacturing destination, given the latest manufacturing push by the Indian government. But many of the items that they are producing, in fact, quite a few of the items they are producing, may not have a market in India. But they're being manufactured over here and then re-exported to the Middle East or Southeast Asia or even North Asia. So the immediate market is not the Indian subcontinent, rather a third. So my question here is, how important is this particular factor of having market accessibility?
So I'll give you a live example. Ford, just closed their entire plant. They went out from India, and now they are coming back, and they will be producing the cars here and importing and exporting outside. So India is not the right market for them. So this is the strategy. Today there is a news in the newspaper today, if you just flip the pages, that latest airports would be produced in India, and then not also for Indian consumption and outside as well. So they'll be exported. Maruti is the live example. They are in our country from donkey's years, like 80s, like when we were third or fourth standard. Then those days the Maruti was launched, and now today they have starting exporting back to Japan. So what could be the factor? The factor is, I think first factor is the cost. What is the cost you are getting on your balance sheet? If you are saving cost, producing in another country and getting it back in your home country, then also you are making margins, then it makes sense, right? So there are few countries where the labor is not available. Labor is imported, because people doesn't want to work. Like Middle East is a live example. You don't get laborers over there. They like labor from India or Egypt or
South Asia, yeah.
So these are the markets from where the labor goes, and then they export from those countries, because one, it's a tax haven. There was no, till yesterday there was no tax in Middle East, like UAE especially. Now they have started. So when you're getting an advantage to an extent where you can lever your balance sheet, I think that's the right choice.
Very good. So in that consideration, does a company have to keep in mind the socio-cultural impact of a certain destination as well?
Why not? If, I would not say if political as well, right? Would you like to expand your business outfit in Pakistan from India per se? There must be foreign companies in Pakistan. Pepsi is there, Maruti, Suzuki is there, and all that stuff is there. Okay, I don't know about I don't have a deep knowledge about Pakistan economy, but means who are the international players working over there. But would you like to, when people don't like you? Like people means the environment per se doesn't like you. Would you like to step in those countries? I would not say today. Would you like to go, regardless of the opportunity in Lebanon? Would you like to go there? No. It's a war-torn country, right? Why would you like to step in over there? Or where India does not have a good ties. Okay, so why would you like to go over there when you know that I will not be entertained over there?
Right. But on an international context, for any company around the world thinking about global expansion, these are considerations that one should keep. Political turmoil, or rather any country with a very restless history, political unstable country, is not a suitable option. But also, is a very well-to-do country a suitable option?
Could be. That's the risk a company takes or a promoter takes. That's the risk. But I think the risk for the promoter or the company takes are very calculated. They are not in haste they take. So they know where they are stepping in and which waters they are stepping in.
Another very interesting question that comes to my mind about global investment is not every country has an access to the ports, right? There are landlocked countries. There are countries where the local infrastructure may or may not be as developed. how important it is for us as a company to keep in our mind the logistic capabilities, the infrastructure capabilities of a certain destination.
I think then again it comes to whether that country is viable for me to expand. Okay. Like in Maldives, if you go to, like if you take an example for Maldives, it's a hospitable country. Like it's only into the hospitality, right? There is no other business. Now, if I try and if or I try or I think that let's put a manufacturing unit over there for what? For 100,000, 200,000 people, would you like to take that risk? No, because it is an importing country. They import water as well.
Yeah.
Right. So why would you
putting up a desalination plant and water?
But do you get all those resources over there, okay, and make it a profitable venture rather than getting the water imported? I think people must have thought about it and not yet done that, just because the cost of production or the cost of infrastructure is very high over there, right? So I think these are the very valid factors which companies think before stepping into an international boundaries.
Two questions, very important and very much related to each other. Number one, what is the most effective market entry format for any Indian company globally? When they are expanding into a new country, it's quite obvious that they need a local partner. But do you suggest usually evaluating a partnership or a joint venture or any other format? What has been your experience? And the second part of the question I will come to later. It is to do with public procurement. Yeah.
So see, it all depends, like where you are entering into, what are the benefits you are getting. Like when India started opening their economy, okay, about in 90s, okay, when the LPG was launched, liberalization, privatization, and globalization was launched by Manmohan Singh. So they were very clear that no international company will come on its own. They have to have a tie-up with an Indian company. So that was the case. Like you cannot become a giant. You are giant in your country, but if you are entering in my territory, I am giving you all the benefits, right? But you have to handle my people as well. So like Yamaha did the tie-up with Escorts and Honda did the tie-up with Hero and all that stuff. Kawasaki did the tie-up with Bajaj. So then there was a time period as well. I think there was a lock-in period of 10 years, 15 years, whatever. I don't know that. Okay. So till that time, why? So the country could mature, the economy could mature, people could understand the standards of the international, I would say the automobile, like I'm just talking about the automobile sector. There were other companies as well, or the other industry players as well who stepped into our country. So that hand holding is needed when you are on a growth trajectory. So those tie-ups help. Then they were on their own. Mahindra learned how, Mahindra was always there, but still, like, the other players learned, like bike manufacturers learned how to make the bikes for the international markets and all that stuff. So that learning was needed. So I think in those cases, JVs are good. Like, but we have seen the adverse cases as well, where there is a big fight between the large corporates, okay, and then it has taken them to international arbitration, and all that stuff has also happened. So it all depends, like, it is like a marriage. If it is successful, it is beautiful. If it is not successful, then it can go to
as the first advice for you to from you to any new company planning a strategy for overseas growth is always start your plans with a local partner.
See, again, I'm saying it's not necessary. It all depends upon the environment you're going into. If the local law says that, then you have to have a partner. Okay. Like if you're going into international financial sector, you want to open a branch. SBI wants to open a branch in London tomorrow. It doesn't need anyone, right? And there are no such laws that you have to have a local partner. So it all depends, like which sector it is and which geography it is, what are the laws of that country. So I would say, like, it all depends upon the stimuli, the scenario where you're entering into. Or suppose the company in that country is not doing good. Now he wants a partner. He has got an order book. He needs a partner, a financial partner, or a technological or a technology partner, where India companies participate, joint hands, and then they take the company from 1 step to 10 steps. So it all depends, like which scenario it is.
So Equus, one of the services that we provide to our members in Equus is that we give them access to global tenders and global licitations. So what we do is we expose them to the global tenders that are out there in different sectors, industrial sectors. Then we mentor them and coach them, and then we prepare them to how to apply for the tenders. So it's been a very popular service for our members who are into these functions. But here, from someone who has helped companies raise investments globally and also handholded them for massive transactions and businesses. When it comes to appearing for tenders or engaging in tender-based projects, then would you advise them that yes, having a local partner or a local entity who would be driving or being the face for their business is advisable?
Yes or no, both. Like again, depend upon the case to case. Like, it could be yes, a local partner. It could be no, I can do it on my own. But if the law says that you have to have a local partner, then you have to have a local partner, right? And it all depends like how the tender is coming out.
Yeah, if the tender has civic responsibility
yes,
clause,
then you will have to adhere to that, right? Of course. So it all depends. Like the large players would not like to go with the partners. Okay. Or partners, like they would like to sit on the board with the majority share stake. Okay. And so it all depends like from where you are coming, who you are, what you are in your country, what you are in your capacity in terms of delivering, how much, sound you are in terms of the financial or the technology or XYZ. So it all depends like how negotiations you do with the other partner. But as you guys help in tendering, but it all depends upon the nature of the tender.
Of course, it goes without saying.
Yeah.
So in that case, it is very, very crucial for our companies to have a good access to local talent.
Yeah.
So local talent plays a very important role in global expansion.
Yeah. They understand the dynamics of that country.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I wanted to learn from you what have been the best practices that you have witnessed in retention of local talent, in procurement of good talent, and building up a good, effective international team.
See, forget about international. To get a talent today is a difficult task. And to retain, if you are lucky enough to get a talent, then to retain a talent is again a challenge. Okay, now it all depends like, how you nurture your people. What's the culture of your organization, right? So in my view, culture is not good or bad. Culture is weak and strong of the company. Okay, if you are strong in the culture, then definitely you would like to replicate the same culture in the international markets as well. You would like to take talent from the international boundaries or the country where you are, thinking to expand. That we should hire the local talent because they understand the demography of that market. They understand the culture of the market. They know how the soil smells, right? So they can, handhold you in that geography. So I think one should have, because, then otherwise there'll be a disbalance. If you'll put 100% Indians in one country, in one company, obviously then it's not a balance, right? Yeah. Others will also feel that in my country, you have seen the potential in terms of the money and you are not giving me anything in return. So governments are also smart. Yeah? So they don't allow you to do that.
Very good. And according to you, in what way is digital transformation and technology enhancing the success of a global expansion?
I think today's scenario goes without saying. If you are not technology sound, then the chances of expansion are very bleak. I would say you have to spend money on the technology. Each company, every company, I would say, have to spend money on the technology. Without that, you can't succeed. Well, today, the world is working towards the AI. Chat GPT is this right example in front of us. If you don't have a Chat GPT today, then people think that, oh, you are outdated ones. You don't work on Chat GPT. Okay? So what is Chat GPT? Is one of the technology, right? Which is saving your time, which is doing everything. So there are many environments like Chat GPT, but unless your acumen allows you to spend money on the technology, you will not do it. But today, I think that paradigm shift has started. Okay, where this is most important tool.
So, how should Indian companies assess and respond to a competitive landscape in the target markets? And what strategies can they use to differentiate themselves from local and international competitors?
I think very technical. because I think this is what CFO's role is, to analyze whether that market is, if that market is competitive, whether we'll be viable or not. So, like, I'm sure before entering into a different market, they do their deep due diligence, they do deep diving, they do their financial analysis, whether that market suits me or not, whether what I'm producing fit for the market or not. Okay, or if it is not fitting in that market, but I'm getting good advantages in exporting from that market in the neighboring countries. So I think that is they do before entering.
So, I mean, it's a complex world out there with technology that is evolving very quickly. One has to be on top of the developments in this segment. Local talent, or rather talent, is very difficult to accrue. Political considerations are important. One interesting observation in my experience has been that there are lots of subsidies and benefits that are offered at a municipal level as well as at a local regional level. The central government may or may not have enough information about that. So many times when companies are trying to establish in geography, it is important for them to know whether there are strategies or subsidies or benefits available to them at a local macro level as well.
Right.
And that information is not readily available. And usually, organizations such as yours and organizations such as Equus, our role over here is primarily to handhold these companies and give them access to that information that it is difficult for them to access. So here, one last question to steer the conversation and close it up well, round it off well,
Right.
is how important it is for entities such as yours and mine to keep on working, keep on reinventing themselves, keep on staying ahead of the game and well informed, to know the investment game, to mentor and coach expanding companies properly. And what role do you see we can play in the coming years?
See, I think there is a lot of scope. Okay, as I said, when the countries where we are based is doing good, then obviously there are chances that the companies, based in India will grow. So now, unless we as an advisors or the consultants or the implementators, we don't know the scenarios of the other countries, we will not be able to sell ourselves, right? So there has to be some differentiation what the others don't have and we have. Like, we are talking about the competition, we are talking about how people expand and all that stuff. So for us, it is same. Like, how can we expand? How can we expand ourselves in this market? Unless I know that how many free zones are there in UAE and what is the differentiation between all the free zones? Like, what is the difference between a company getting set up in UAE vis-a-vis in Singapore or in Hong Kong or in China? So I need to know, what are the benefits the client will get if he is setting up, or whether he will get it or not. Okay, it might be an expensive affair to set up an entity. So I think we should have that kind of knowledge if we are into international waters, advising or consulting or handholding the clients in the different geographies.
Oh, very well. So friends, as you see that taking investment abroad is not as difficult as it may seem. And then there are entities and organizations and communities such as Equus, where we bring all our members together from different parts of the world talking about investment opportunities in their region. All you have to do is become a member of Equus, be a part of the game, be well informed of the opportunities that are cropping up everywhere. Amicorp, who can then handhold you through different phases of global expansion and make world an equal universe for all of us. That's Equus for you. This is Talks signing off. Supriya Bose. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.